Welcome, question. Yes, that's exactly what it is. You ask the questions, I'll answer them. Pretty cool, huh? Hey, as you noticed on the preview that the Sun City Bible study that we normally do, that's a retirement community, by the way. We take the summer off. We take the summer off. One, it helps me prepare for the next round that goes from September through till May. Also, many people in the Sun City, the retirement community, go back north during the hot summer here because, man, it gets hot here in South Carolina. June, July, and August can be blistering. It's already 90 degrees. The other day I was golfing. It's 92 degrees already. So if you're not in this area, you might not understand why do they take off so long? Because people are gone. Snowbirds have headed back north, and it just gives me some time to prepare. So you'll see we will return for the Bible on September 11th. All right, let's get to the question today. Why is the Gospel of John so different from the other three, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John? Well, let me do some explanation. The first three, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, we call them the synoptic Gospels. Why? Their similarity. They tell a lot of the same stories. They have a very repetitive nature about them that they seem to overlap each other very well. So we call them the synoptic Gospels. Now, at the same time that they're very similar, they still provided their unique view of God. Matthew presents the kingship of Christ, how he's king. Of course he would. He was a tax collector. Mark, he presents him as the servant. Christ is the servant, or the servanthood of Jesus Christ. And then Luke being a doctor, presents the human side of Jesus, the humanness of Jesus. Then we get to John. John talks about Jesus from the deity side of Jesus, or Jesus as God. So the first three are kind of representing Christ's aspect: king, servant, human. Then John comes along and presents him as God. And so his view is going to be a little bit different, a little bit skewed. Some have also said that John was the best friend of Jesus, so he had the most intimate look at Jesus. So he looked at things a little bit differently, kind of from the inside out versus the outside in. You also must consider the audiences they were writing to. Luke obviously was trying to prove that Jesus was God, and yet looking at him as a human. Mark would have been writing to the Jewish believers, and Matthew could have been writing to anybody, but John specifically is writing to, I think, all believers of all time. And you also have to consider one other big thing about why John is a little bit different from Matthew, Mark, and Luke. Who told him to write who gave him the words to write the gospel? The Holy Spirit. This God decided was needed for man to understand the fullness of God. So John doesn't even go into his birth. He just says in 1 John, Jesus came into the world as the Word. That's it. That's all you get. He doesn't go into any of the birth scenes or anything like that. So it's very different. But it's profoundly. I love the book of John. It's a great book. Some have postulated that Mark, Luke, and John were written before John, and that the three were unknown to John. Thus, he writes of Jesus as he sees him with very little influence from the other three. Remember, John was exiled on the island of Patmos for a very long time. So it would make a lot of sense that he didn't even know that Matthew, Mark, and Luke were even writing their Gospels. And they would have had interaction with one another for a while. And John did not have interaction. So therefore, his gospel will be a little bit different. Hey, a lot of that, but I got to tell you something. I like that it's different. Man, if we had another repetitious characterization of Christ, we needed John to present Jesus as Lord. Now, John probably takes the longest in terms of his death, burial, and resurrection. Did you know the uniqueness of the Gospels? When people write biographies on people, and this is what these are biographies. The death is only about 1/8 of the book. Did you know in the Gospels it's like the death of Jesus takes up like a third of the Gospels? Why? Because it's important, the death, burial, and resurrection of Jesus Christ. It verifies who he is. And so John takes a lot of time verifying the deity of Christ, of the death, burial, and resurrection of Jesus Christ. So hey, not only that, but that's just the way it is. What are we going to do about it now? Anyways, that's it for this week. So the next question, I think I've answered before, but I'm going to answer it again. Are there any mistakes in the Bible? Are there any mistakes in the Bible? You have to come next week to find that one out. See you next week.